want privacy. We want privacy.
All right, thanks for having us on the show.
A lot of value to when you anchor into your own knowing, then you're telling your own story.
Yeah.
You're telling your
so
own
many female founders who've been on that full trajectory, that are on the other side of success, still at certain chapters in their career and their...
A rumor can outrun the truth in under a minute. One screenshot, one, "Did you see that?" And suddenly the internet swears South Park just winked at the Sussexes again. But here's the plot twist. While timelines chase a shadow, the real on-camera receipts are coming from Meghan herself. Fresh quotes, careful branding, a lifestyle pivot that's either brilliant timing or gasoline on an old fire. So, what actually happened? What's only speculation? And why did this week's headlines feel like a setup?
South Park roasts Meghan Markle as the Duchess of Dog Biscuits, ending the Sussex Riviera Orchard brand asterisk
For the perfect punchline. We're pulling the thread from rumor to reality. Season schedules, verified clips, and the rebrand that everyone thinks they understand. Watch closely. The moment the hype meets the receipts, the narrative flips. But that wasn't the whole story. Before we dive into this manipulation masterclass, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. Because what we're about to uncover will change how you see every Meghan Markle interview forever.
So let me start with you, Sam. You've lived a life with the royal family, you've had everything handed to you, but you say your life has been hard, and now you've written all about it in your...
Trust me, you don't want to miss a single detail of this breakdown. It began the way internet fires always begin: a freeze frame, a zoom, a red circle, and a caption that might as well be lighter fluid. Did you catch that? A silhouette that looked a touch too ginger. A brimmed hat that read a little too familiar. A stemmed glass that might possibly be rosé. That was enough. Within a minute, feeds were stitching, duetting, pausing at the exact frame where coincidence could be sold as clue.
I have heard about South Park more in the last 8 hours than I have in the last 10 years. I seriously cannot remember.
The screenshots multiplied, the theory hardened, the evidence didn't. This is the modern rumor engine. One person makes an observation, 10 people repeat it with confidence. 100 add edits, arrows, and dramatic music. 1,000 declare it obvious in hindsight. By the time anyone asks for a source, the narrative has already crossed the finish line and is taking a victory lap. No synopsis, no official teaser, no network account saying a word. But silence in these moments gets reinterpreted as confirmation.
Prince Harry, ever the hype man, appears in the background, cheering her on in casual green hoodie and jeans.
They're back. Not because the show said so, but because the internet wanted it to be true. And here's why that matters. When the audience decides the punchline before the episode exists, every unrelated frame becomes foreshadowing. A background extra becomes a plant. A color palette becomes a message. Meme logic starts doing the writing. If you're the subject, you don't just fight a joke, you fight a crowd that has pre-laughed. So we draw a line.
Prince William has finally snapped. Enough is enough. He has told friends.
In one pile, receipts, things that live on schedules, in on-camera quotes, in official listings with dates and episode numbers. In the other pile, speculation, clever edits, confident captions, recycled clips from last season dressed up as new. Both piles drive views. Only one survives scrutiny. There's also a second tension at play, the timing. When rumor happens to rise on the same week, the person in question is already trending for an actual interview and a visible brand push.
together.
Oh, so you really had time to fall in love with those videos. That's nice.
But you really get to know somebody when you're in a little tent together.
The echoes get louder. People start connecting dots that may only be dots. The pile of speculation borrows legitimacy from the pile of receipts, and to a casual scroller, it all blends into proof. That's the trap for creators and viewers alike. If you sprint with the crowd, you get the clicks. If you pause for sources, you keep your credibility. We're choosing the second lane. We'll go where the documentation goes and label everything else what it is. unverified. Because if a new roast is truly locked and loaded,
you know what no one wants to admit? That Prince Harry looks completely lost. Like a man who was handed the keys to freedom, fame.
We won't need whispers, we'll have timestamps, and once those land, the narrative will either sharpen or shatter. But that wasn't the whole story. Next, we check what this season is actually pointing at right now, and why the real receipts change how you read every rumor. Here's the ground rule. Schedules and synopses beat screenshots. If a show plans to lampoon someone, it usually leaves a paper trail. Episode titles, log lines, official promos. Rumors, on the other hand, leave circles around pixels.
Meghan Markle is back on social media. Well, sort of. The Duchess of Sussex was...
So far, the confirmed listings don't name Meghan or Harry. Early episodes this season have leaned into US politics and media culture, not royal storylines. That doesn't mean a pivot can't happen later. It means there's no verified setup right now. Remember how this show telegraphed big targets in the past. A clear episode title, a synopsis that hints at the theme, and clips that circulate from official channels. When that machinery starts moving, you don't need to squint at silhouettes. There are timestamps.
They are no longer royals, but not yet fully Hollywood celebrities. They have been very, very clear.
One more trap to avoid: schedule wobble. Guides update, air dates shift, and rumor fills the gaps during off weeks. Treat their next claim as a placeholder until a real synopsis drops. Bottom line, no name targets, no teaser, no logline, no receipts. Until that changes, the Sussex theory stays in the speculation pile. But that wasn't the whole story. Next, we pull on-camera quotes from Meghan's Bloomberg sit-down, the receipts driving this week's spike.
Okay, fine, you want to move to California, you want to step back from the institutional role. Why be so public? You say...
This week's verified fuel didn't come from a cartoon. It came from a chair, a camera, and a calm answer that cut through the noise. In her Bloomberg Originals interview, Meghan framed life inside the institution as performative at times, especially around appearance, then contrasted it with who she says she is now. She talked about the small rules that add up, neutral palettes to avoid overshadowing senior royals, the ever-present expectation to blend in, even the detail of nude tights.
Meghan Markle's show just came back out for a season 2. I've never actually seen the show, but I was thinking about her and Harry yesterday and their kids, Lilibet and Archie.
One word did the heavy lifting: inauthentic. That's the kind of line the internet doesn't just repeat. It repurposes. Clippable moments drove the spike. There's the authenticity claim, there's the wardrobe contrast, there's the quiet implication that the old playbook wasn't about self, it was about optics. None of that is new to longtime watchers, but the delivery was neat, quotable, and timed right as her lifestyle brand tries to expand. Headlines love a before and after, princess palette versus personal palette.
Shoved a camera in his hands. Well, not a real camera, it was actually my old phone, because obviously.
And the algorithm loves a conflict it can thumbnail in one sentence. What made it trend wasn't just what she said, it was how it reframed familiar beats. Instead of palace versus press, this was self-image versus institution. Instead of privacy, this was presentation. Viewers heard a claim they could test against years of photos, outfits, and appearances. Cue the side-by-sides, the color charts, the compilations. Critics called it selective memory. Supporters called it overdue context.
British royals' hilarious reaction to Meghan and Harry's wedding sermon. During Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's wedding.
Either way, the interview handed both sides clean material. Here's why it matters to the rumor cycle. When a real on-camera quote lands the same week, people are hunting for hidden cartoon signals the two narratives braid. Jokes start writing themselves: nude tights, pastel palettes, rosé labels. And suddenly satire has fresh props. That doesn't prove a new parody is coming. It just means if one does, the setup is already sitting on the timeline. But that wasn't the whole story.
The creators of South Park did not hold back in an episode featuring characters based on Harry and Meghan.
Next, we zoom out to the brand pivot, what As Ever is building, and why lifestyle visuals are the easiest targets in comedy. A pivot looks harmless until you see the props. New name, softer fonts, a palette that whispers host mode, and a hero product that photographs well in every kitchen light. That's the play. It trades headlines for habits, recipes, tablescapes, a bottle on a marble counter, and invites the audience to imagine themselves inside the scene.
After the success of the worldwide privacy tour, presenter Dan Wooten revealed that the South Park creators might be working on storyboards for a new episode.
Done right, it resets reputation by repetition, post by post, drop by drop. It also paints a target on the label. Lifestyle branding gives satire a toolkit, bottles to exaggerate, mood boards to spoof, voiceover copy to mimic. One screenshot can replace 1,000 words. A rosy hue becomes a running joke. A cursive logo becomes a punchline. If you've been a lightning rod before, this kind of pivot is either genius camouflage or fresh camouflage to set on fire.
You wrote a book that reports on the lives of the royal family. Right. So you're a journalist. We just want to be normal people.
Scarcity plays its part. Sold out is the fastest flex on the internet. It tells fans they're early and critics they're late, which is exactly why it fuels both sides. Supporters screenshot the restock. Skeptics screenshot the hype. Either way, the brand stays in frame and the jokes get free B-roll. There's a deeper tension underneath. Lifestyle promises authenticity while delivering choreography. The camera wants candid, the grid wants curated. That gap is where critics live. They'll compare the new glow to the old talking points. Privacy then, product now, and ask if the message changed or the marketing did. If a parody happens to land during that question, the visuals are already loaded. None of this proves a takedown is coming. It only explains why the rumor felt inevitable. When a public figure moves from press to palette, the internet gets pictures it can bend into whatever story it prefers. Sometimes the story helps, sometimes it hardens the caricature, but that wasn't the whole story.
Toronto, it's good morning, Canada. It has been several months now since our beloved queen.
Next, we step out of aesthetics and into strategy, how PR teams usually play it when a meme cycle starts biting. You can't cease and desist a meme. You can only starve it or feed it. That's the first rule. The second, the crowd decides faster than comms can. Most teams start with the quiet window, 24 to 48 hours of nothing. No statements, no subtweets. Let the novelty decay. When it works, the joke runs out of oxygen. When it fails, the silence gets framed as pressed.
Your millions from Netflix for no one knows what.
Put it with the rest of them.
Babe, time. Pick that window on purpose, not by panic. The light touch line is next. One self-aware sentence, clean and human, posted on home turf. No sarcasm, no legalese. It resets tone without inviting rounds 2 and 3. Risk. If the line sounds rehearsed, the internet hears a dare. Redirects can help only if they're already on the calendar. Charity visits, program updates, a concrete deliverable. The message is still doing the work, not look over here.
Meghan Markle said she cried over South Park, but the rest of the world just laughed. Where this all began was in February of 2021 when Prince Harry and Meghan Markle...
Forced optics backfire. The grid can smell a prop. Owning the joke is the gambler's play. A wink, a micro-parody of yourself, a caption that defuses the punchline. It works when the brand has history with humor. It craters when the brand is built on solemnity. Know your lane. Lawyer letters. Save them for outright falsehoods that can be disproved with a single exhibit. Anything softer triggers the Streisand effect and hands creators a victory lap. Control your receipts.
Trying to make ourselves into a brand just turned us into products. We don't need to be a brand, do we?
Post the primary clip, the full quote, the date stamp. Pin it. Make your version the easiest one to embed. If a rumor mutates, you have a reference point you can link in 8 words. Mind the 3-beat cycle: spark, spin, saturation. If you miss the spark, don't chase it at spin. Aim for saturation with something simple, timely, and verifiable. Over-explaining is gasoline. Don't throttle comments right as a bit goes viral. It reads as caught. If you must moderate, do it before the news turns.
That's fine, I'll go it alone, just like Meghan Markle and Prince Harry.
Sir, your millions from Netflix.
And don't outsource your voice to friends of the brand in a visible wave. Coordinated praise looks like choreography. None of this guarantees a soft landing. It just stops you from handing the joke better material. If satire is coming, your best defense is clarity, brevity, and proof on the first scroll. There's an older playbook across the pond that reads like one sentence: say nothing and let time do the talking. It isn't passive, it's posture.
Or the end of the summer that is set to mock Meghan Markle and her pregnancy video.
So what exactly is in this
By refusing to engage, the institution denies oxygen to every microspat and positions itself above the noise. That doesn't mean nothing happens. It means whatever happens doesn't happen on camera. Courtiers brief without quotes. Friends of friends send signals you can't screenshot. The public gets a silhouette of a response, not the speech. Silence lands differently when the other side is fluent in media. A brand built on interviews, podcasts, and personal narrative can look overexposed next to a wall of quiet.
Prince Harry and Meghan Markle have been absolutely savaged by South Park in a new episode entitled
The contrast sharpens perception. One voice explaining, one presence existing. To supporters, that's transparency versus stonewalling. To critics, it's oversharing versus composure. Either way, the optics fight themselves. There's also safety in the void. If a joke is rifling around the culture, refusing to swat it can keep you from becoming a prop in the next punchline. The risk, of course, is misread intent. Silence can look like indifference. It can feel like a shrug.
We are once again going to be talking about Prince Harry and Meghan Markle because even though they have retreated into...
That's the gamble. Absorb a week of memes now to avoid 3 weeks of escalation later. So if you're waiting for rebuttals, don't. The louder the chatter, the likelier the quiet. And in the modern attention market, quiet is its own headline, whether you agree with it or not. But that wasn't the whole story. Next, we set a simple watch list so you can separate rumor from reality in under 10 seconds, the moment new info drops. First, the schedule. Official listings beat screenshots every time.
South Park, is a show that I have enjoyed, I would say, on an infrequent basis from time to time. It's not like a regular watch for me, but there are certain episodes.
When a new episode is real, it gets a date, a title, and a one-line logline you can quote without squinting. Check the network grid and the show page on the day of. If a synopsis hints at a theme, you'll see it in plain text. No circles around pixels required. Second, the clips. If a target is coming, official promos usually seed a motif, names, settings, or a prop that isn't ambiguous. Fan edits are fun, but they're remix, not receipt.
I have a bouncing rubber bump. Still, this time feels different. It's not just Harry being mocked, it's Meghan's brand on the chopping block. Her entire...
Prioritize accounts that own the rights to the footage. Third, the interview. Pull the clean, full segment from Meghan's Bloomberg sit-down and keep it pinned in your notes. When out-of-context lines start trending, you'll have the primary source to anchor your take. It's the fastest way to stay compelling and credible at the same time. Fourth, the brand lane. Watch for any new as-ever product posts, restock notes, or partnerships. Lifestyle pivots live and die on cadence. If the drops continue steadily, that's a narrative.
Oh, just calmly picks the pillow up, shoves it back under her dress, and gets ready for the next take. Kyle's...
If they stall right as discourse spikes, that's a different narrative. Fifth, the temperature. You'll feel it in the reply sections, curiosity, mockery, or fatigue. When the tone flips from arguments to punchlines, you're in the meme phase. That's when restraint matters most, because everything you publish can be screenshot into someone else's joke. But that wasn't the whole story. Next, we pull the thread tight and land this: how to read the week without getting played by it. Here's the clean read.
So when I say South Park destroyed Scientology and Meghan and Harry, I don't just mean it like, oh, they got murdered.
A rumor sprinted ahead because it could. A verified interview caught up because it was clipped right. And a lifestyle pivot gave everyone pictures to project on. None of that guarantees a takedown is queued up. It only guarantees that if one drops, the internet has already pre-written Act 1. Your edge is discipline. Keep the receipts pile separate from the speculation pile. Lead with the thing that can't be argued: a date, a line on camera, a posted listing, and let the commentary hang off that anchor.
Trey and Matt have never hidden their opinions about performative activism or curated public personas. In this special,
When you do it that way, you don't just win the argument, you win the rewatch. Audiences come back to creators who upgraded their understanding, not just their outrage. So here's how we'll play the next beat. If a real synopsis or promo lands, we'll pin it with timestamps and update the top comments so viewers don't chase old clips. If the schedule shifts, we'll shift with it and keep the receipts visible in the first 10 seconds. And if the week ends with no official move at all, that's a story too. The rumor that ran out of runway. Watch closely. The moment the hype meets the receipts, the narrative flips. And if the flip happens, we'll be there in the first frame.